Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Jacked and Canned, the show where me and John have to have a 30-second countdown before we even begin. John, how are we doing tonight, buddy?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Feeling like the good old school baby Colbs. Feeling real good. Feeling good, man. How you doing?
Pretty good. So tonight, John, we're going to talk about a few things here that'll be a little bit more fun. I know that oftentimes I've done a lot of sports talk the last few weeks, and granted, that will continue because this is one of the prime sports times of the year. It's pretty much now in like late June when the NBA and NHL finals are going on. But in the meantime, today we have some more interesting topics that are a little bit more fun and out of the sports realm for everybody. We have a dinner last night that John and I
Yes.
both attended.
Cheers.
We do have John's fantasy team updates, and we do
Yes.
have, as always, cracking a cold one with Colbs. John, where
And
would you like to
Colbs,
start?
I want to start with this. Clinton Portis. I know we said we're not going to talk too much about sports. Now, hear me out.
No. Go ahead. Tell me everything you got on Clinton Portis because I am in.
Okay. Did you hear the headlines today? What was popping off?
I didn't, but I know that Clinton Portis has said some really dumb shit in his past, so I wouldn't be shocked if he said something else dumb.
Okay, so Clinton Portis, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that don't know, we're talking about the old Denver in Washington running back. Really, really good.
Oh
The,
yeah, Clinton Portis was awesome. He was one of my favorites of that time frame.
freaking amazing. To put this into a point of view for everybody, I mean, he was a pretty durable back, in my opinion. All right, he had almost 10,000 rushing yards, 75 touchdowns rushing. Okay. In receiving, over 2,000 yards and over 247 receptions. So the dude was pretty damn good. Okay. Now, here's what happened to Clinton Portis. He's all over the headlines today. Colbs, I guess for some reason, I don't know what happened, but I guess there was some sort of allegations of fraud against the NFL and kind of their insurance, like for their health benefits, their health care, like a
Yep,
healthcare
you're
fraud.
hearing a pretty good bit of that lately, but why specifically does Clinton Portis feel that he has been wronged?
Because he's been sentenced to 6 months in prison.
Wait. Why was Clinton Portis sentenced to 6 months in prison? What did he do?
Because he was part of this ring, this master ring of NFL
Of
players that got caught up in this fraud here. So I'm wondering, is this going to be like a Wolf of Wall Street kind of experience for Clinton Portis? Like he's
I
going to
mean,
go
could
get
you describe to me what exactly the fraud was that took place?
of what? Yeah, so it was like a healthcare fraud. So basically, I don't
Oh
have the
no.
best understanding of this, but each NFL player, once they retire, they're supposed to be eligible up to a maximum of like $350,000. Okay. For health care expenses. I have no idea what kind of health care expenses that means. Okay. But
No, that's okay.
basically, there was allegedly some false claims for equipment and everything along those lines
Wait.
that
He was buying equipment with healthcare?
medical equipment. All right.
Okay, so like hyperbolic chambers? Like what was he
Stuff
spending that kind of money on?
Probably crazy stuff like that. And honestly, like I don't know all the details. I'm just going off the headlines, but everyone's running with it now. CBS Sports, NBC Sports, USA Today, Jacked and Canned. All
Yeah,
right. So
you found the prime media when you hit Jacked and Canned. Now I
mhm.
know why you're going at this. Uh
So
no,
he
I,
ended
I
up
have heard a lot about this, John. There's been a lot of players that I've heard that are doing something in the way of trying to sue the NFL for some type of health benefits just because they don't feel that they were granted enough. And a lot of that had to do with the CBAs at the time, but you look back on it and with all the players that are having mental issues as they were growing older, it's hard to defend from the NFL's perspective. You look at it and you're like, well, I mean, they should have probably gotten something better.
so Colbs, I guess for Portis himself, he's facing up to about $100,000 in what this fraud was. So that's probably why, that's a little bit of a lengthy sentence to me. It kind of came out of nowhere, in my
Yeah, I
opinion,
kind of
but
was thinking the same thing. I mean, 6 months over 100 grand. You for one, I'm kind of shocked that Clinton Portis doesn't have 100 grand laying around that he could just take care of that debt.
right. So it's one of those things, man. I just wanted to point out a couple of other players. I guess 15 former players have actually pleaded guilty to the charges, according to ESPN. So we're looking here at Robert McCune. We're looking at Joe Horn. I remember Joe Horn.
Oh, Joe Horn.
Yeah. Carlos Rogers,
Oh,
Corell Buckhalter. I'm going to hack
oh,
some names because I'm terrible. James Butler, Cendris Brown,
ah.
or Candris Brown. However, I can't. I just naturally hack names. John Eubanks, Antoine Odom, Patrick Prue, Darrell Reed, Anthony Montgomery, Frederick Bennett, Reach Codwell.
I don't know all
So,
those names, John, but a lot of those resonated with me, and I am actually a little bit shocked that those are all guys that made some good money in the NFL. I'm a little bit surprised that they would find themselves in a place where they would be running essentially some type of scam to get themselves more money for insurance.
well, I guess Horn. All right, so he's probably one of the more notable names on here, I would say, right? We all know him as a New Orleans Saints wide receiver. Uh, he was actually sentenced to 3 years probation and 200 hours of community service. And he obtained almost 150 grand, but he's repaid all the money. So that's probably why he was able to face, kind of more of community service and probation. But
Yeah,
dude, Colbs,
probation and community service is not the same as spending time in prison.
yeah, so that kind of threw me off, kind of random. I saw that and I love Clinton Portis. Like I really do. Like he was
It
always
just
my
seems strange
go-to.
to me that Clinton Portis is the one that takes the real hit there. Like Joe Horn was a pretty recognizable name in his era as well. Like Joe Horn was somebody that you would think if you're coming after the big name, Joe Horn would be right up there with Clinton Portis. They were pretty much they weren't synonymous because they didn't play the same position. They didn't do the same things, but they were just as impactful for their own individual teams.
So it looks like they have some division of loss prevention for the NFL. So who knows? Maybe maybe
So,
job security for the
so
future.
shout out to anybody in the NFL that feels like you're about to do some dumb shit. Don't do it. Just don't do
Yes.
it.
Yeah, just don't do it. It's not worth it. Colbs, also what I want to do, just transitioning off of that point, dude, I think it'd be pretty cool to see a Clinton Portis movie like The Wolf of Wall Street. I want to kind of see one release for him.
Well, I mean, it's going to be a little bit different. I mean, I've heard enough of Clinton Portis speaking. He's not going to come across like Leo in that movie. I mean, you're going to have to cast a very different grouping there as far as who's going to be playing who in that because that's a bunch of guys that they weren't the same people as the guys on Wolf of Wall Street. The guys on Wolf of Wall Street were guys that you could find anywhere in a suit looking really nice and you would just say, "Oh, yeah, that guy's just made of money." You see some of these NFL guys, yeah, they might look good, but as soon as you say anything to them, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if half the guys you just listed, if they're just down to sock you right in the face.
Oh, dude. Well, the edge, man. Even Wolf of Wall Street, everybody's got that edge. Colbs, you got that edge. You know who's got the edge? That dude right there's got
Young
the edge.
Colbs.
So I love Clinton Portis. I love all those dudes on that name that were just named right there. So I don't know. Hopefully they kind of figure it out. I don't
John, the
like
way
to
you
see.
just painted that, you almost made it sound like you're rooting for that cause, that they should have been doing what they were doing. And
No,
I don't know
no.
exactly the details yet of what it is that they were doing. However,
You
I'm
know,
going to suggest probably don't do that. And we probably don't condone that on the show.
no, not condoning the behaviors at all, condoning that you learn from those life lessons, kind of like a Martha Stewart thing when she kind of wronged the stock market or whatever the hell happened with that whole situation.
She got the biggest win out of anybody that ever went to prison. She came out and she was best friends with Snoop Dogg.
Mhm. So, you know what?
I'll take Martha Stewart's life. Yeah, if I get to go spend a little bit of time in prison, but I come out and I'm down with Snoop, I mean, it's not all bad, right?
Hell yeah, man. Totally on board with that. So, Something else on a different topic here. And Colbs, this is the one regular episode that you promised that we're not going to talk a lot about sports, but I want to talk about it. What the frig,
Go
Colbs?
ahead. Talk to me about sports. I got you.
USFL. Colbs, it's coming back.
Well, see, you kind of hurt me there. I was ready to talk about something else. It was like a real sport related.
Colbs, it's coming back, man. It's coming back. I just want to announce that. Also, XFL, that's also coming back. All right. They're filing brand trademarks in Mexico, Canada. They're doing a whole bunch of different things. They're getting ready. They released some communication. 2023, they will be relevant again. And they got Dwayne behind them. Dwayne The Rock Johnson. So you know that it's going to be run the right way. Hey, how's it going? Woo, we got some
Oh,
peeps over there
God.
in the live feed.
Of course, they're going to back you on this one. That is exactly what I would envision breaking down the tape to do. They just want to feed into whatever John's nonsense is.
So
I mean, cool. We'll get some spring football. I'm fine with that. I'm not going to treat this like I do the NFL, the NBA, or even the NHL or UFC.
Colbs, I did hear an interesting topic that was brought up about the NFL. Okay. It's such a cash cow for DraftKings, for FanDuel, for literally everything.
They
Everything
themselves
NFL
are
related.
cash cows, but yes, go ahead, continue.
So, with that said, right? They expanded this season by one game to 18 weeks. Now, there was an interesting point that was brought up on one of the Sirius XM channels that I was listening to when I was downloading all the fantasy football talk that I could get. Which, by the way, teaser, I won. Champion, me. Number one, who?
Hey,
Me.
hey.
Whoa.
We're going to talk about that later.
We're going to talk about that in a minute. Cheers to that, though. So, dude, what if the NFL expanded the season to about 25 weeks?
What would happen is that you and I would be getting calls to come replace the third string quarterbacks that all went out.
Fair enough. Well, that is perfect because the replacements, that movie, exactly right up my alley.
So
right up my alley.
all I can think to myself is, in all seriousness, if you're out here and you're doing this thing where you're trying to make the NFL season, the longer you make the seasons, what's going to happen is especially right now with COVID, where everybody's been on protocol off and on over the last few weeks. And then you add on to that just what is the perpetuating injuries that take place in the NFL during the regular season. You get the playoff time, it's just going to be, you remember that guy Ian Book that just was quarterback for the Saints a couple weeks back? He's going to be a starter for multiple weeks. It won't just be a 1 week thing while Taysom Hill's out real quick. It's going to be that's all the quarterbacks in the NFL. There's going to be the NFL Super Bowl champion based on what one quarterback didn't get hurt or get COVID at the wrong time. And that'll be what determines the Super Bowl. So no, do not make the NFL any longer as a season than it is now. I know that we love it more than any sport out there, but the reason we love it is because it's good the way that it is. Don't mess with it that way. I understand the 18th week, and if you want to knock off more preseason games, I'm even okay with that. But do not expand the NFL season to something ridiculous like 20 to 25 games of the season for the regular season, because we're going to end up in a place, John, where I'm not kidding when I say this. There won't be anybody that you recognize on the field.
It'll be like Major League Baseball. You're going to be like, all right, I'm ready for the season to be over.
Well, I mean, that too, but I mean, you won't find that as much with football, but you will find that horrifically when it comes to the NFL expansion, because anything along those lines is exactly going to do just that. Where with MLB, you get bored of it, A, because it's a boring game, and B, because it is 162 goddamn games. Like, that is way too many games. However, in the NFL, you actually have a war of attrition. It's a much different monster from the start. Like, the get-go of the NFL season is, there's going to be star players out for the season by week 2. It's just going to happen. You add more weeks, and it just happens to more guys. There's everybody in that league is fighting for just staying healthy enough to make it to the end. You add on more weeks, they just drop. It's going to be it's going to be like Anthony Davis all over the NFL field.
Colbs, Zach from Breaking Down the Tape brings up an interesting point here. I don't think that they should make the season longer, but I do agree with expanding teams. He mentions talk about load management. I am totally on board with that. Yes. Yes.
No, John, because that would signify that you're behind the idea of expanding the season. That's what load
I
management's
am.
for, is just resting players so you can lose a week and
I'm
then
down with
rest your
that.
players.
It's more
No, I'm not.
hopefuls for me. It's PJ
No,
Walker on the
the
field.
game is just perfect the way that it is right
I
now,
love
with
it.
the exception of taking away some of the cool rules and adding rules that don't always really help anything.
I am totally on board with that. I want more PJ Walker. I want more
Oh
guys
God.
like that. Okay. I want all of it. So that's why I'm so excited about USFL and XFL. I am going to study it. I'm going to be involved in it. I can't wait for the fantasy football for those leagues. It's going to be exciting. That's all I got to say.
No, fair enough, John. Before we get into, and for the audience that is uninitiated here on YouTube, what we will be doing
We
is we
are
will
the
be talking for a
initiated.
few more minutes here, and then we will be coming back with another segment of Cracking a Cold One with Kolb. So we will be departing from YouTube, but coming right back in just a few minutes thereafter. And it'll be about Cracking a Cold One with Kolbs. But there is something that I want to talk a little bit about before we get there, John. And that's, of course, going to be about my Seahawks a little bit.
Hell yeah, Colbs. What's going on with them?
So obviously, we waited till our season is quintessentially over. I mean, we got to the point where we were eliminated from playoff contention, and then we threw up 51 points against the Lions, which I know it was the Lions, but I think that's the most points the Seahawks have put up in my entire lifetime as a Seahawk fan. So for me, this was a little bit different, and it felt really cool to see. Few things that I want to take away from this. With that win, Russell Wilson now ties Peyton Manning for the most wins within their first 10 seasons at 112 wins. And we're probably about to lose him. So, not that happy about that. However, I am psyched that Russ got to that landmark. That is very good for him. Since 2003, which was the season that I became a Seahawks fan, the Seahawks have gone 500 or better against the division every season. So even in years that they were like 5-11, they at least got to 500 against the division. So what I would say is that we're playing Arizona this week, and we're going to Arizona, and that decides if we finally ruin that run. And honestly, John, it very well may happen, but I'm not sitting here pretending like I wanted to. Nope. And additionally, Rashad Penny was named the Offensive Player of the Week in the NFC, which is pissing me off because I'm like, I've been doing nothing but shit talking this guy for the last 5 weeks. And this guy's been coming out here and just tearing the field apart. I looked at the halftime stats and he had like 140 yards. I'm like, no, you're kidding me.
Phillips, he is totally proving you 100% wrong, and
He's making me look bad.
Yes, and I love it because
too. It's my
I've been
team.
saying he's been good. Hence why I won fantasy, because I know what I'm doing.
He better not get my hopes up. That's all I'm saying. If this dude comes out, like if he runs for another 150 yards this week too, and then we go into the offseason, and then we come back from the offseason, and he's already out week 1. No, not even about cutting him. I'm going to be pissed because what's going to end up happening, and I know what's going to happen, he's going to come back, and then it'll be brought out late in preseason. Oh, he hurt his hamstring. He's going to miss week 1, and you won't even see him till week 5. Should Pete stay or should he go? In all seriousness, I don't think that they're going to let Pete go in this offseason. There's been a little bit too much within the Seattle media that's taught me that he's going to be there next year.
Really?
But I think that the right move would be to move off of him. And I don't know where he goes. Honestly, I think that if we don't keep him, I think he finds himself, he might take a year off, and I think he finds himself going back to college football. Russell Wilson, on the other hand, even though the Seattle media is telling me that he's coming back, I think that's just because it's the Seattle media. I think Russ is going to be gone. And I think that more likely than not, it's either going to be the Giants or New Orleans. And I don't want to see it either way. If he goes to the Giants, I don't think it makes the Giants a good team, by the way. I just want to throw that out there. But that's like the Sierra move that I could see him doing. And if he goes to New Orleans, I think they are immediately a Super Bowl contending team.
Well, Colbs, what about this at you? Okay. What about Russell Wilson leaves the NFL and crosses back over to MLB? How about
Uh,
that?
so I'm going to answer your question first and then Zach's that he just brought up. So for your question, no, that will not happen because he's making tons of money in the NFL and he's not a proven baseball superstar by any means. He's a proven NFL
What
quarterback.
about
He will
Deion
continue.
Sanders? He was a proven NFL superstar, and then he went to baseball without being a proven baseball superstar.
Yeah, so did Michael Jordan with the NBA, and
There you
that's what
go.
happens when you hit that level of superstardom that
Yeah.
only Michael Jordan and Deion Sanders have achieved.
So
And I think it's
Russ
because
is
they
not
got
that
bored of
level.
playing the game. No, because Russell Wilson didn't win 3 straight NFL championships like you saw with Michael Jordan, and he wasn't known as the best player in the league as Deion Sanders
If he
was in his
was,
era.
would that door be open?
Yeah, I could see it much more likely than then. And yes, Zach, also the Yankees do have his rights, which does factor in to an extent. But as far as your other questions to the Steelers, he better not. He better not.
Oh,
He
Zach, I love that
better
question.
he
I love
better
that.
not.
I love that question
I
because Colbs
I
hates
will
them.
I'll have to sit there and burn my Russell Wilson action figure that's upstairs. I won't have another option. That's the only thing I can do. I have to act out like every other immature fan. So that's the only thing that I can do. And also, I don't think the fit's right for him there. I honestly think that if he goes somewhere, it's not going to be a small town. And granted, I know that Pittsburgh does have a larger mentality than that of, like, say, going to Jacksonville. But I think if he leaves, he's going somewhere big because keep in mind that he has a superstar wife as well. And I don't think that Pittsburgh is where she wants to spend her time. I think it would either be New York or New Orleans. That's also why I factor out Denver, who a lot of people have brought up.
Fair enough. You know what I haven't factored out? Cracking a
Cracking a
cold one with
cold one.
Colbs.
That's right,
So,
buddy.
ladies and
We will be
gents,
back in
we will be
literally about a
back.
minute this time.
Here we go. Woo! Maybe Colbs.
You're not good at hitting the.
We're just gonna run the countdown, ladies and gents. We'll be back in 1 minute. Stick around for
Oh,
cracking a cold one
Jesus.
with Colbs. We're
Thanks
gonna do
for
the
the heads
countdown 2
up.
times in a row. Another 30 seconds, suckers. Oh, Colbs is back.
Ladies and gentlemen,
That was quick.
welcome to Cracking a Cold One with Colbs, the
Damn,
segment
dude.
where I drink a beer while John tells the audience something he finds interesting. John, do not make this about your fantasy team just yet. Go ahead and tell the audience something fun and interesting.
There's something fun and interesting. That's the quickest transition of a cracking a cold one with Colbs that we've ever done, ever. That's
See,
that's
Oh, that's literally what your fun and interesting thing is that
that
this
is
didn't take long.
that it didn't take long.
Do you think I drank a beer in that time?
I saw you do it. You shotgunned it. So cheers to you. Cheers to Colbs. You know who I take that back, ladies and gents. Colbs did not shotgun a beer. You know who could shotgun a beer?
No,
This
John, we're
guy.
on YouTube. Clearly, I didn't shotgun a beer.
This
Like,
guy could have
people can
shotgunned a
see
beer.
me right now, and I did not shotgun a beer. So you telling people I shotgunned a beer has no credence, has no credibility.
This guy has shotgunned a beer, meaning you in the past. Look at the photo.
Yes,
That's old
that
Colbs.
Colby did shotgun beers. Yes, he did.
He's our background. He's going to be our official background of Jackson Cannon StreamYard.
I love that
Background
there's
Colbs.
just going to forever be a 24-year-old picture of me sitting in the background of the show.
And it cuts off your head.
Yeah, it cuts off my head, but it keeps the flower there, which is nice.
Which works out good. Colbs, what's the cracking a cold one about?
So, cracking a cold one tonight, John, is going to be a little bit about something that I did not. I didn't do a whole ton of research on this, but I do know it to be true. Um, I have to crack a cold one because while I was on Twitter last night, I came across something that I was not anticipating by any means, which is that there's a Twitter account for Elmo.
Yeah, man. That I don't know. Who's running it? Why are they running it?
Well,
That seems
obviously it's
creepy.
being run by Elmo. It's got a blue check mark, so it's definitely Elmo. And none of his
True.
tweets, from what I had read, made any sense. I wish I had written some of them down so I could review them with you.
Were they
But
creepy?
yeah, they all are. All of them are creepy. Everything Elmo says is kind of weird when you really think about it. And it was unsettling for the most part, honestly. I took just a quick peruse through what his Twitter account was, and I don't want to be involved with anything Elmo's doing. I don't know why he even popped up on my feed, to be honest with you. I don't follow anything from Sesame Street. Maybe this is just from Sing 2, since we follow them. But I have
True.
not a clue why we are involved with Elmo on Twitter, but Elmo popped up under my feed. I didn't like it, and I don't like it anymore the more that I talk about it. It's just something that really doesn't sit well in my stomach.
Dude, Colbs, I don't really like Elmo. Elmo's creepy. I don't know about you, but I was more of like a Rugrats kind of dude. But I couldn't really get into too many cartoons when I was younger, right? So Elmo didn't cut it for me. Rugrats was really the only
You didn't even
cartoon
like
that could do it.
cartoons as a kid, huh?
No, I always, as a kid, I would say, I want real people. I want real people. That was my phrase. I want real people.
Huh.
Okay. So I needed to see, like, I don't know, humans, not these animations. It was weird. So Disney Channel was my fave. Back in the day, we talked about it before on the pod like a year and a half ago. But Disney movies, Disney Channel, the Friday night Disney movies, that was 100% my jam. All of those shows, 100% my jam, dude. I could not get into Elmo. I couldn't get into any of those things. Dragon Ball Z. And I know it's probably great, but I couldn't do it.
No, I'm just kind of shocked to hear that. Like I think back to what I remember as a child, and obviously Dragon Ball Z was my go-to, but like I loved like Courage the Cowardly Dog and Dexter's Laboratory. All that stuff was fun for me as like a young child, and then I became like 10, and all of a sudden none of that was fun anymore because there were real life problems that were presented in front of me.
Yeah, fair enough with that, dude. So that's why I don't know. I just wanted to be exposed to the real life problems, I guess, at a younger age. What was it? The Olsen twins. I was obsessed with that. The Ronald McDonald. Do you remember those movies that you'd get at McDonald's? The Ronald McDonald movies.
Oh yeah, and the toys too, and
Yeah,
also they had cassette tapes. I don't know if you ever
that I
had
didn't
any of the
know.
cassette tapes. Yeah, I had Ronald McDonald cassette tapes that I would listen to, and that looking back on it's probably pretty creepy too. I don't know how that really turned out if I listened back to any of them.
Dude, I kind of want to see one of these movies. I hope that they're available somewhere, but I guarantee they're
Oh, I
probably
bet YouTube.
collectible.
I bet you could find them on YouTube. YouTube's got everything. Look at this, Sean. You and I are on YouTube. I'm sure you could find classic McDonald's stuff on YouTube.
That's true. Fair enough, man. So if anybody out there has any old school Ronald McDonald VHS tapes, if you could send us a picture at jackedandcanned at gmail.com, jackedandcanned at gmail.com. I don't know what the hell I said before. Jacked and canned. I don't know. Whatever. Just send it to us. I want to see. Hell
Fair enough, John.
yeah,
So,
man.
what did you
Cheers.
do for Oh yeah, absolutely. Cheers. What did you do for New Year's Eve? I know that we have talked about it in person, but we didn't talk about it on the podcast here.
So, New Year's Eve, very, very small get together, my friend. Very small get together. Um, just with COVID and everything, the Omicron virus, the mutation, it's kind of reminded me of a Decepticon from Transformers. It's starting to take over the world, and we need Megatron to come over here and help us out. Autobots rise. We need the Autobots to come and protect us right now because Omicron, this evil Decepticon, is taking us out. Doesn't Omicron sound like a Decepticon?
It does, and I would have to say that the majority of the COVID strands have sounded like they're kind of badass names.
Yeah, so maybe they're just meant to be that way. But, anyways, it was a very small to get together because of the recent COVID spikes and literally just kind of ate some delicious food and just kind of chilled. had a couple of drinks, and saw the ball drop, which was very strange to see. 2022 kind of freaked me out because I still remember seeing the 2000 ball drop.
Dude, I'm
And
still pissed at myself. I went to bed on that one. Well, we were the same age. So, you know how old I was.
yeah.
9 years old or whatever, 8 going on 9 for me. And I sat there and I laid up until about 11:20 and I passed right out. And my grandma tried to wake me and I just didn't wake up. And I'm like, "Mother, ugh!" Like out of all the balls to miss, I missed the 2000 ball. Like you got to be kidding me.
That was the one ball to watch too. I don't remember any of the 90s ones, do you?
Actually, now that you mention it, I can't think of any of them. But I don't think that the ball drop itself is really that memorable for me on any given year. Usually, by the time the ball's dropping, even on years like this year, I'm more concerned with giving a smooch to the lady that I'm with that year, which for a few years now has been Michelle. So
Yeah.
at this point, like that's really what the ball is for me. Like it's in the background, but I'm just concerned about giving the smooch.
Well, hell yeah, and I heard Michelle in the background, she says, "Damn right, give me that smooch."
She said something. I don't know what she said. I didn't know you could hear her.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. That was the other fun part. We got to stay up till 1 in the morning for her friend Laura in New Orleans, who was an hour behind. So we stayed up till 1 for that. And then I thought I was going to bed then. Nope. Emily that lives in Colorado doesn't get it till 2. So we were up for quite a while that night.
Dude, that would've been awesome if there was just one other person that you could plug in from California for that good
If there
old
was
3
somebody in
hours back.
California, I would have just full blown been like, I don't care about that person. Oh, she has a person.
Damn it, Michelle, you should have mentioned them totally out of California, so,
It was hard for me to convince myself to stay up past like 12:15 because that was my plan going in. I was like, all right, I'll watch the ball drop. I'll hang out, watch a couple of the songs that happen right after the ball drops, give her another smooch, be like, yeah, all right, babe, I'm gonna go to bed. And that's what I did, except that when I said that, she said, "Yeah, we got to stay up for Laura and celebrate with Laura." And yeah, it turns out that we stayed up till 1 for that, which I was good with, and I was not anticipating the Emily coming after that. But at that point, I'm like,
well, Coles,
"What am I
I
gonna
mean,
do?"
even thinking about it this way, right? Eastern time zone is like how what the world runs on, in my opinion. What business
Well,
runs
it's
on. It's
because we
Wall
live on the
Street.
East Coast, John. That's why you see it that
No,
way.
no,
Yes,
everything is literally marked as East. It really is. Seriously, it's everything's EST. Wall Street is in
well, I
Eastern
was gonna
time
say, I
zone.
think the
The
majority of
economy
that is
runs.
because New York is in the Eastern time
Correct.
zone, but at the
Yeah.
same time, I think because a lot of people live in the general New York area, there's a lot of that. But even beyond that, if you ever notice the way they set up like an NFL Sunday, they got it so the EST games are there at 1 p.m. for them. They got it so
Correct.
the 4 p.m. games for us, that's the 1 p.m. for the Western
Correct.
zone or whatever they call their time
So
zone.
it
I don't even
works.
remember.
Even NFL games just work for Eastern time zone. It really does. The 1, the 4, and the night. It don't work that way for, West Coast, not as smooth at
Yeah,
least.
I know. The Seahawks are almost playing. It's like one of 3 games every Sunday at that time slot. I'm like, yeah, they might be on TV.
Yeah, so it's interesting with that, man, but dude, it's got to be weird on New Year's Eve. If let's just say you're in Colorado, right? And you know that the ball drops because it's on TV, dude. They show Manhattan. Like, even if you're in Colorado, they have to be showing New York City, I would think, right? Because that's what, I don't know, Dick Clark, the whole New Year's Eve special kind of thing. It's been running for years. So
Well, you
they
realize
must.
now that Dick Clark is it's now Ryan Seacrest.
Well, no, I do realize that, but I'm going back for a tradition, though, like what used to be running
It
for
is
so
still Dick Clark
long. And
New Year's Eve or
yeah,
Rockin' New Year's Eve.
yeah.
That is Ryan Seacrest. I almost said
Well,
Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Seacrest is the ultimate host of everything of all time.
Oh no, he is. Like Ryan, I swear to God, he's one of these guys that if we reach out to him just to be like, "Hey, Seacrest, you want to just come on and like just announce that our show's coming on?" He'd probably do it because he's just out there for every gig that'll take him.
Yeah.
It's like Kevin Hart in movies.
That's actually a good point. Yeah. No, not like Kevin Hart. Danny Trejo in movies. That dude is in
No,
every movie
Because Danny
possible.
Trejo has at least some standards, and don't talk about my father that way. It's very well known that Danny Trejo is my real dad. Ryan Seacrest will take whatever the hell's put in front of him. It doesn't matter. Same with Kevin Hart. Danny Trejo is going to make sure he says, wait. Before we make this happen, you realize who I am, right? I'm going to come in there and I'm going to be a badass. It doesn't matter what you have me doing being a badass, but I'm going to be a badass, right?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, man. Dude,
John, we still have 2 more topics that I want to get off here, and I know we got like 5 minutes to do
let's
this.
go through it, homie. What you got?
Talk about your fantasy team.
Thank God you brought that up because I would have forgotten. So,
I know
ladies
you
and
would have.
gents,
That's why I'm here. I'm here
I
to
was
remember the things that you won't, which is terrible on your part because I have bad memory.
I was so nervous and so excited all last week. Um, so I made it to the fantasy football championship game. All right. So all I did was have the SiriusXM app on and I was listening to channel 87. Shout out to all of the hosts on there because I was listening from like 8 a.m. to like 8 p.m. Okay.
John just had a football day solely on Sirius XM.
That's it. All the different hosts, they were talking
You didn't
about.
even watch a game.
No, I didn't. And they were talking about all the same, like, kind of all the similar topics on who to start and everything like that. I was even writing to a couple of guys on Twitter, which Colbs, you probably did see one of the posts that I did write over to Doc from SiriusXM on the Fantasy Football Show. So, anyways, long story short, I made it to the championship game and I won, and it was $700 for it. Now, Colbs, yeah, dude.
$700.
I just
That's
want to
what I
say
wanted to get to.
I was nervous as hell though, because I was watching all those games, might I say, because obviously I knew how much money was riding on the line. But I did have Antonio Brown, and obviously Antonio Brown leaving the field with the shoulder pads. I'm like, why isn't he scoring more points? Why did his targets get shut down? I wasn't getting the Tampa Bay game. So I didn't see what happened. So I'm like, all right, that explains why. Meanwhile, I'm nervous at that point, right? I had Patrick Mahomes, who scored almost 21 fantasy points. He had a pretty good game. I was going against Josh Allen. Josh Allen scored the same amount of fantasy points despite throwing 3 interceptions.
When you sent me the picture of how the teams did, I saw the Josh Allen. And I was like, "Ooh, that had to have had you shitting yourself a little bit."
But Colts, he threw for 3 picks. How the hell do you get that many fantasy points on 3 picks?
Because he also scored a whole lot, and Josh Allen's one of those guys that he's going to throw 3. It's kind of like Ryan Fitzpatrick, except he can run.
Yeah, that's the thing. He just runs for touchdowns. I had Michael Carter, who left the game after the first quarter, and he had like 3 rushes for 54, 55 yards, something like that, against the Tampa Bay defense. So I think he was going to have an awesome freaking game. And he ended up leaving injured. So I'm like, oh, that's freaking awesome. Antonio Brown, him leaving that way.
But
I had Kittle.
The MVP of the team, John.
Dude, I'm getting there. Kittle, which was a little disappointing for points, but I was a hopeful. And ladies and gents, those of you know that listen to the Sports Roundtable episode, I am such a hopeful. Jarrett Patterson, the Washington football team rookie running back that took over for Antonio Gibson, came into the game with 12 attempts, 57 rushing yards, 1 touchdown, 5 targets on 5 receptions for 41 yards. With almost 16 fantasy points. I'm going to go ahead and finish this up here pretty soon. Cooper Kupp obviously had a pretty darn good game. Chris,
Dude, I can't believe that you nailed the receivers this year between Chase and Cooper Kupp.
Because
that's just nuts. You got the 2 best receivers in the NFL by fantasy perspective.
I had Chris Boswell, who had an awesome game as a kicker for the Steelers. And I had the Patriots defense against the Jags. I benched Dallas. And of course, the MVP of my team, who was in my starting lineup, was St. Brown. Ra St. Brown. Ra,
No.
ra, 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 ra.
Wait,
ra,
did you have
ra,
Jamar
moo,
Chase
ma,
on the
ma.
bench?
I had Joe Burrow on the bench over Patrick Mahomes. and I had Jamar Chase on the bench. The
Oh my
reason
God. I thought
the
you won that game with Jamar Chase.
No,
I
dude,
didn't
that's why
realize that you didn't even have Jamar play. You had Jamar Chase, who had like 180 yards or something like
he had
that, and then
44 fantasy points, and he was
he
on the
had 3
bench.
touchdowns. Oh
Cole,
my God, you won the championship without your best player.
because I couldn't bench Cup, and I couldn't bench St. Brown, which St. Brown had an electric game. Don't get me wrong, he really did, and Cup could go off
Yeah,
too.
St. Brown
So
had a good game. I could tell you as a Seahawk fan that's watched the game back at this
mm,
point, St. Brown had a great game.
yeah,
He was the only guy on the Lions that did anything.
and Chase could be a hit or miss sometimes. So I was like, Chase could be so inconsistent because Burrow has Joe Mixon in the backfield. He's
Well,
got
he's
T.
also, I mean, he's a
Higgins.
rookie. You're not
Yeah,
always going to get all these great, yes, and again, all
right.
the other weapons there. You're not always going to get the great
So
game out of a guy like Jamar Chase. But I
I
mean, oh
had
my God, you missed the big one.
Oh, dude, I had everything on AB. I had
I
everything on
can't
AB.
believe you won without Jamar Chase. I really thought you had him in the game.
Let me just say this, AB screwed a lot of people in fantasy.
Oh, I'm sure he did. I'm sure there's a lot of people that were there at the end of their fantasy
Oh, yeah.
seasons, watching the game intently and just being like, "No, no, no!" And they're just watching him strut across the field without his shirt on, and they're like, "No,
Yeah.
no!"
Yeah, man. So, dude, I'm pumped. $700. The money is already mine. It got sent over to me. Uh, Last year, I was one of the worst teams. This year, I was one of the best teams. So I'm going to be changing over to the
You
defending
were the
champ.
best team, John. You were the best team.
True. True. And Colbs, you did commit last week that you were going to play fantasy football
Oh
next
shit, I
year.
did, didn't I?
So
God.
I am going to hold that to you. And you said that
I'm
I
an
have a
idiot.
bad
Why did
memory,
I
but I
say I
remember
would do
that.
that?
So I'm holding that to you. So you
What's
will
the
be playing.
buy-in?
It's $40. So
All right.
you're in. You're in,
Yeah.
Colbs.
Thanks.
So Colbs is in. Actually, let me just spin this for a second here, ladies and gents, while we are live here on YouTube. And if you do want to join, just write a comment. And of course, for our podcast listeners, if you want to start up a fantasy football league with us at Jacked and Canned, feel free. It might be a little fun league. We could get some of the listeners, some of you guys involved in there. I think that'd be a good time actually to do that. So if you do have interest, just write to us at jackedandcanned@gmail.com. The winner of the league, maybe we can throw out some fun prop merchandise of Jacked and Canned. Not that it's valuable at all. I don't even know if it's worth playing for, but hey, if you want to check it once every few weeks, then maybe you'll win a Jacked and Canned shirt. Who knows? So, Colbs, dude, I know that you mentioned you had another topic. What the hell's up?
Well, I just wanted to bring up last night, John, that you and I got to attend a dinner last night for Michelle's birthday.
Yes, happy
So
B-Day.
she turned 21 once again, and it was awesome. We had a great time. John, are you still full? Because I am.
Dude, I am still full. That's why I'm like swaying here. If you see me on cam, I'm
You're
swaying
just
because
trying to stay awake still.
I'm trying to, dude. I literally
You
like my
haven't gone to
eyes.
bed yet. That's what I'm gathering.
These people are probably like, "Oh my god, look at this dude. He's probably smoking weed or something. His eyes are all like tired and everything." It's like, no. You try to have a large chicken parm sandwich, okay, plus pasta salad, plus a baked potato, plus a half a loaf of
There
bread.
were so many sides. I didn't realize when I was
Oh.
ordering how many sides I was getting. I was like, "Oh my god, I'm going to get all this?"
So let me just kick this back, ladies and gents, for our audience here. Now, I had a reasonable portion, right? A chicken parm sandwich, even though it was huge, a baked potato, pasta salad, absolutely delicious. Kolb's, on the other hand, this dude gets the most food at the table, and he has
I did. I had
the
more food than anybody else, and I eat the least.
smallest, like the smallest appetite out of anyone that I know. Kolb's, what the hell did you order?
I got salmon with a baked potato
Which
and
was
some pasta
huge.
salad. I had a
Huge.
side salad on top of that, and I got an appetizer of calamari. So I had 5 plates put in front of me, and I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Are you
John, by the
still
way, don't cheat yourself too much on how little you ate there, guy. You had yourself a nice like loaf of bread.
Oh, dude, that's why I'm saying I'm still full, dude. I'm like grabbing my stomach, dude. I'm full. It makes me want to go over to the gym and go on the elliptical for a little bit. So that's all I got to say with that, dude. But it was always a freaking great time. So, ladies and gents, with that said, It's time for sleep. I'm feeling the chicken parm. I need to lay down before I turn into a full-blown chicken parm. I have no idea what that even means, but
Now,
whatever.
I would more so suggest that you would become a gremlin right about now.
Well, my hair's already practically there. You sprinkle a little water and it's going to start.
Your hair does always kind of look like a gremlin, yeah.
It really does, dude. Jesus Lord. So my goatee's getting a little too long too, but I kind of want to grow it out. You ever seen the movie Wild Hogs, Colbs?
Oh, dude, I've been keeping mine trimmed. I've been actually keeping up with it since I got better from COVID.
Well, with that said, ladies and gents, the Goatee Club, we appreciate the hell out of you. Rate, review, subscribe. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of
Checked and canned.